Welcome, guys, to another episode of Consciously Curious, where we deep dive with those that are thriving in their passion. On today's episode, we have Mr. Nick Boskovich, founder and president of High Vibe in Chicago. Right? You're only in Chicago.
Yes, correct.
So welcome to the show, Nick.
Thanks. Pleasure to have you have me.
I'm in
on.
your home.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for the welcome. Thanks for the matcha.
Yeah, my pleasure.
For those that aren't aware, can you quickly share what you guys offer and the mission that you stand or thrive or strive to achieve?
Yeah, well, we're an organic juicery. That's how it all started. It's really evolved beyond that now. I would probably categorize us as more of a super fuel or day fuel concept. Really, everything we do is formulated to facilitate optimal performance and health. Minimizing inflammatory ingredients,
Okay.
sugar conscious. We've got items that are higher in sugar, but majority of the menu's inherently plant-based. But that's not at all what drives me. I'm not a vegan.
Oh, okay.
I'm more of a dabbler. Biohacker is the official term, I guess, and that certainly applies to me.
Okay, awesome. At what point in your life did you came to the realization that I want to get into this lifestyle of superfoods or performance or just bettering yourself? At what point in your life did you need that?
Well, I guess the performance kind of came with High Vibe, the performance obsession, but juicing became part of my everyday routine when I was back in my previous careers. Which was commercial real estate, and I was a union iron worker. That's kind of like the family business. So
Okay.
I was an iron worker from basically 17 years old up until, I don't know, probably early 30s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a long
and
time.
there was some overlap with the commercial real estate because once I got all in on the real estate, I was digging it, but there was parts of it that I wasn't digging.
Okay.
So then I started juggling the two. And I was making good money at
Sure.
both, just not really feeling fulfilled. And during that time, I was working a lot, working with a cousin of mine who's a health fanatic, and he was bringing me to Whole Foods for lunch every day, for our lunch break every day, and that really was, if I were to try to pinpoint a,
Turning point.
Yeah, turning point
Right.
in my life, or I was always into eating healthy, but the problem was like everybody else, I was taught wrong. The wrong things were healthy. It was all BS. So Whole Foods really, working with him, seeing him eating these giant bowls of kale, and he's a big believer in keeping things simple. If you're gonna eat a protein, it's one protein a day. So salmon, and that's all he would eat that day. Or if it was beef, it was just beef that day. And he was telling me how he and his brothers, another health fanatic, and he was telling me how they would do these juice fasts. So it piqued my interest. I think now looking back, really what drives me is I like to feel good. I had someone one time tell me that it sounds like you're a feel good junkie. I was that's maybe accurate. That probably is pretty accurate, But he kind of inspired me to purchase a juicer, so I was juicing at home, became part of my routine.
Sure.
And I was single. I went to school on the West Coast in Arizona State.
Okay.
So I have a lot of friends in western half of the United States, some in Florida. So I would travel, and wherever I would go, I would seek out what's the best juice spot in town, and that's how I would start my mornings.
Okay.
And it was really fixing the damage that I did the night before.
Okay.
So I wasn't I had a lot of fun in my earlier days. So in doing that, I would seek out the best. I've always been really obsessed, quality obsessed.
Okay.
My friends used to call me the ultimate consumer. So it translates really well for our customer base.
Yeah. You're sharing your passion.
That's right.
So through learning about juicing, there's so many types of juicers and things like that. How did you know what stood out or what was quality?
Well, that's the thing. This was a very kind of slow
Is it
evolution.
intimidating, right? A little, with all these ingredients that went into this latte that I'm holding, that's intimidating.
Yeah, but not, it doesn't, it didn't start off like that.
Okay.
There this didn't really exist. Now there's other concepts kind of catching up
Sure.
and starting to integrate some of these more exotic ingredients,
Sure,
superfood
sure.
ingredients. Mushrooms are definitely a trending thing, but back then it was juice. And in these travels and seeking out the best juice concept in whatever town I was in, whether it was LA or Miami or Scottsdale, I found myself kind of critiquing these places. And like after a while, at first I was in awe. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I'd buy a bunch of stuff, and whatever friend was with me would be like, what are you doing? You just spent $150 on this raw food and juice. I'm like, I don't know, dude. I'm like really into this. And then I'd get back home, and I'm back to like my juicer in my kitchen,
Right.
which isn't, it's not very exciting. It's a lot of work. So, so over the course of probably a couple of years of this, I found myself kind of begin to kind of critique these places. I was seeing the customer bases that were coming in, and most of them were branded like very like yoga themed or farmhouse themed or kind of like a more hippie vibe.
Okay.
And that's not for the most part what their customer base was. And the majority of them were also like very raw vegan driven. And I didn't think that was probably the customer either. I thought like these people, what they have in common is they want to feel good. They want to, feed their body the best thing they can. So more end result driven than fitting in some like dogmatic box, right? So I began to kind of like wheels started turning, because then I'd come back home and I'm back in my kitchen with my juicer, wishing I had one of these cool places to go check out, and cold pressed juice, the whole bottling cold pressed juice and packaging cleanses, that was brand new. So like that really sparked a whole new kind of idea.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how it started. And I mean, it was probably like 7-8 years ago now when I started really like
Right.
conceptualizing it. It took a couple of years to get it, to actually like get the wheels in motion,
So
I found the space. And
Yeah. So High Vibe's been out open for 5 years?
5 years.
So
Right.
about 3 years conceptual to think about it?
Probably, I mean, it took a long time. Even once I found this space, the lease took a long time to negotiate. The construction was a very painful process. That that took at least a year, really, because there was delays in the beginning, delays in the middle, and problems with permits and city inspectors.
All you want to do is share some juice and
That's right, man. I was like, yeah. So something I used to say was like, "What, you think that I'm trying to like open up a strip club across the street from a elementary school? Like I'm trying to serve some organic juice here."
Right.
So, yeah, but it was all a lesson, like in hindsight.
So
it's part of the process.
Before deciding to open up shop, how did you know that you were onto something? Did you get feedback from friends or family that, hey, you're actually developing a pretty cool skill of like making pretty tasty, functional juices?
Before we were open, you mean?
Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, because when I would make juice at home, I was more results driven. So I didn't care what it tastes like or looked like. So a lot of the time I would just throw all this stuff in and it would end up being like black, or close to it, or like a dark brown, and friends and family did not think that was appetizing or look good or,
Okay.
so, yeah, so not until I really committed did I start actually like, trying to turn, I guess like putting my chef hat on, so to speak,
Sure.
So, no, I don't know. I guess I was always looking for something. I knew that I had like, I guess I had a creative mind. I didn't really recognize it, but
Okay.
I knew when I would be lacing up my shoes or my boots in the morning in both of those previous careers.
You're not shy to hard work.
I was just, I that was the time I always remember, probably because it's in the morning, and like if you're kind of dreading what you're about to go do, that's like
a good
when
sign.
but I'd be lacing up my shoes or my work boots and thinking like, what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
Like this is not the right thing for me. And there was parts of those jobs both of those careers that I really enjoyed. It just didn't. I just like felt that there was something I was supposed to be doing something else.
And you were on track from ASU to go to law school?
Correct.
And did you go through the LSATs?
I did. Took
Oh.
the LSAT.
Oh, wow.
I took a prep course. Took the LSAT, and then I was still feeling like second guessing. And someone recommended that I take paralegal certification course through Roosevelt, because it would give me a better like glimpse into what it would serve as a refresher, but also give you a glimpse into like what the first year or so of law school would look like. So I completed that, and that's when I decided like this is, like it was interesting to me. That's why I chose that major. I think was because it was something I could pay attention to.
Nothing from external sources like your parents or anything like that kind of swaying you one way or another? No. Because they were iron workers, like a family of iron workers?
No, my father was the iron worker.
Okay.
He was a union official. He's just about to retire.
Oh, okay. Kudos.
But yeah, he was in that. He's been in that industry forever, and my mom and stepfather own some burger franchises in Indiana, Northwest Indiana, which is where I grew up. That's where I went to high school.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, not, like it's funny because they would like make me work in the restaurant when I was a kid, and I hated it. And when they would kind of like, I guess, kind of like test the waters, see, is this something you would want to pursue? I was like, no, I want nothing to do with restaurants. And then here I am, I mean, this is very different, but there's a lot of similarities at the same time.
That's funny. So everything happens for a reason then.
For sure.
Everything happens for a reason. Going into back to juicing, who did you look up to when you were trying to research new ingredients and new things to juice?
At the beginning, in the early days, for sure, David Wolf. I was recommended from a buddy to go to this longevity conference in Orange County, California, and that was this store was under construction, and it was actually like nearing completion. I was kind of torn on whether or not I should go because it seemed like, well, it's
like
almost
I should
be here,
yeah.
But I knew that it would be good for the business and my development, I guess, and be kind of like exposed and injected in that world. I really didn't know what to expect. I don't think I'd really been to a conference before, especially a wellness conference, and yeah, it was awesome. And it was kind of like you kind of learn about these ingredients that before they're trending when you go to those kind of conferences.
It didn't sound too hokey?
Not to me. I mean, it was there's a lot of great people watching there, they would you'd go on a break and there would be people standing on their heads doing yoga in the parking lot, so yeah, it was good, but all good vibes, so
yeah.
It was a good environment and good exposure for sure. So like that's also where I came across Dave. That's where I first was exposed to Dave Asprey and Bulletproof Coffee, which was that brand and that product, keto coffee, Bulletproof Coffee. That really inspired or kicked off like an evolution of our brand.
I wonder what if your model was closer to? Would you want it towards like that eventually, to where you can find your stuff in the shelves of every store, any store?
Emphatically no.
Actually.
And I kind of just came to this realization over the last several months, but one of our products, our Kill Shot, is super popular. We sell, I don't know what we're on track for this year, but the last couple of years we've sold like almost 30,000 units just on this little corner in River North. And there's been several different groups or individuals that have approached and wanted to invest or partner to make that a CPG, a consumer product, that would be available to the masses, through retailers like Whole Foods, and I mean, it seems like the golden goose.
So what
my wife and I both, like, every year we would talk about it, like, all right, this is the year we're going to do that this year. We've got to get Kill Shot off the ground. Excuse me. And it was just probably in the last 6 months or so, definitely this year, where because there's been people that I've dealt with that kind of like we'd circle back like, hey, you want to do this? Like kind of the right guys to partner with to make it a reality. And what I came to the conclusion was like, I want it to be available to everyone, but once you pasteurize it, it's dead, and so is my interest in it. And I also knew that I didn't want to. I was totally turned off by the idea of my job being, dealing with co-packers and
It's
retailers
that
and
much more removed
fighting for shelf
from-
space, and just like that's
Okay.
just not like that doesn't interest me at all.
But it could
you
interest
know?
someone else.
It could for sure. It could for sure.
That could be someone who's never heard of High Vibe, like their segue into the rest of High Vibe.
Yeah,
Potentially.
You're right. But what I've found over the last 5 years of a lot of wins and losses through this business is that you tend to procrastinate what you
Should be.
don't like
Okay.
or aren't good at.
Okay.
And they're usually the same.
Okay.
And that job, even though there could be this huge pot of gold at the end of it, it just doesn't excite me, and it's not what drives me every day.
Depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe when the time's right.
Yeah.
Maybe when you've had enough of this. I don't know if you'll. ever
Yeah. I
have
mean, if
had
there's
enough of
someone out
this.
there that wants it, I'll make a really good deal for him, for sure.
Is Killshot your baby? Like, what out of all these products, which one do you think is your baby?
There's no choosing
Okay,
that,
okay.
really.
You
Like, it
can't
changes.
choose.
Whatever's the newest, really. Right now, maybe Holy Water, because I
Holy
wanted to
Water.
use that name for so long. and it's got that golden glow.
So, how much work goes into the R&D? And is it just you in your kitchen, like trying to like throw stuff together? Or what do we?
Kind of. Not really at home anymore. I usually do it in the stores,
Cool,
but
cool.
it's more. I mean, I do to be honest, it's kind of like the most rewarding part of
Right.
my day and job
Okay.
and month or whatever it be. Yeah. And the R&D is the fun part,
And as you like you try something, you're like, I might have something. Who are your go-tos to like taste test?
Wife for sure, number one. Yeah, wife, my team. I'll grab, regular kind of like VIP customers turned quasi friends, over the years.
This isn't on the shelves yet, but
Like, hey, yeah, try this. Yeah, but that's about it though. There's certainly no formal process. I'm not very formal, and I wish I was a little bit more, I guess like operationally
whatever.
systematic. But yeah, there's not. That's something. The R&D is like more of what I do in my downtime, I would say.
Okay, so you like eat, live, and breathe
High vibe,
High Vibe.
for sure. Yeah.
And maybe we should correct me if you don't believe in this, but is all this like supplemental to someone's lifestyle? Like, this isn't gonna fix everything. This isn't a panacea. It's not a cure-all. They really gotta embody like this lifestyle outside of just juices and snacks and whatever. Like, they shouldn't have an expectation that this is gonna fix everything.
Certainly not going to fix anything, because you can't really counter what the other thing, depending on
Right.
what else you're consuming.
Right.
But diet and routines are the biggest factor in our overall health and wellness, I believe. And I mean, the way I live is I live off our products all day, every day, and we eat dinner at night. So
Wow.
So it's really, I mean, when you think about it, you're flooding your body with the most nutrient dense ingredients you could want.
Right.
And digestion accounts for up to 80% of your energy expenditure.
Oh wow.
It can,
Yeah.
like depending on what you're eating. So that's why after big meals, you're tired and want to take a nap.
Right.
So I've found that the way that I perform best and have the highest energy levels and feel and look the best and my brain fires the best is through the products that I choose throughout the day. So there's that. It all kind of fits in. It all fits together. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
And then and when you're only eating one meal throughout the day, you put a ton of thought into what that is going to be.
Right.
So,
Right.
Instead of just like, oh, I just need to grab something, it's not like that. It's like, oh, there's some grass-fed beef and some cauliflower rice, or, so it really like that's, so I didn't start off that way, but that's certainly the way it evolved. And, I've lost. I've always worked out a lot.
Okay.
And I ate what I thought was healthy, always, my entire life, and just I think I'm down probably 45 pounds since in like the last 6 or 7 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Just from this, like, changing this part of your diet and things like that.
Yeah, and it's been like slow and steady,
Right.
really,
And consistency.
Yeah, and like I thought I was in like really good shape last year. I felt like I could lose a few pounds, and this year, and I'm always like trying to switch things up. And this year I decided to eliminate nuts and seeds from my diet. Now, I splurge, so it's not like 100%, but for the most part, I don't ingest nuts or seeds, or grains. Like we would incorporate a lot of like biodynamic sushi rice into our dinners, or going to sushi, or corn chips, or the siete cassava chips, whatever. Like those were definitely my vice at night, and I eliminated all of that, and I lost 10 pounds in like 30 days.
Oh wow.
So yeah, and I felt like I was already in like pretty good shape. So the little things.
Okay.
You got to test out and see what works for you, but I find that the best way to operate is off these products all day. So that's really the way that this brand is evolving and evolved too, is just to be like optimal day fuel.
Right. Right.
I'm actually searching for a new tagline right now. Superfood Juicery is not going to be for very long.
So with the results-driven mindset and mission, what kind of demographic? I know it's for everyone. It is for everyone. But like, what kind of demographic have you actually noticed coming in through the doors?
All walks of life, but the one commonality is that they're all, looking for peak performance, and that doesn't mean they could be an actor, a pro athlete, fitness instructor,
Right.
executives, anybody though. Anybody,
Right. Could someone participating in a particular practice like keto, or I saw AIP, which I had to look. I didn't even know what AIP is. So like if someone had an autoimmune disease, like this would increase their nutrition, right?
For sure, and that's really like a soft spot in mine and my wife's and this operation's heart. My wife's got some autoimmune conditions, diseases, I don't know what you want to call it, but and they're really common, and most people don't know that that's what they have. There's over 100 autoimmune. Diabetes is autoimmune condition. Yep. So, and a lot of ingredients that we, that are part of our standard American diet now are super triggering and inflammatory for people with those conditions. So, navigating through that is something that we want to be able to help people on that journey.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So do you remember like any, you can paraphrase some of your customers, but like what have they actually said about the products as far as like results driven?
Oh yeah. Well, I guess the first one that comes to mind is this guy Curtis Brown. Give him a shout. He's one of my dad's friends, and he was my ex-boss when I was ironworking on several occasions. Cool. But he's I think he's turning 67. I don't know. I'm gonna get in trouble if I guess, but it's some mid-60s, and he and my dad both ingest these products every single day. Like green juice. Curtis has got my dad getting keto bowls. Bulletproof now, keto coffee, and Curtis does cleanses probably on average once a month. And when I see pictures of them at like these union events, and you could tell, I was laughing. I'm like, you could tell who the two high fibers are in that picture, So, so it seems like they always say nice things. I don't know, but it's not like like we're fishing for it, but
right.
I think the proof is in the routine, because over 80% of our customers we see
are repeat
5 times or more per week. So so I think that like the fact that we become part of their daily routine is like the evidence.
And what's tough for people that probably do want to come in and make it a routine is these aren't on the shelves of retail stores, you know? So like
Right.
if you don't live near one, it's going to be a little tricky.
Right. It is tricky, and that's really one of my biggest challenges and goals for, the next year or couple of years is to make the products more accessible.
Yeah.
And we need to evolve with the times. You
Right.
know, like I've seen so many changes in the way people purchase and people's day to day now. You know, I mean, I feel like it's kind of like the Amazon effect. Everyone wants whatever they want
Now.
with the press of a button to show up in their lap for free, and
I guess
it's
they
a
could
challenge.
Postmate some high vibe.
Yeah, we do. Postmates is like our godsend right now, right? But and I'm not the most tech savvy. Like I'm the R&D, the creator. I'm not really I'm definitely not the logistics guy. So, trying to navigate that and come up with we're going to open up some locations in new neighborhoods and make delivery a little bit easier and more accessible, and hopefully set up some in the near future. Hopefully in the new year, set up some subscription plans so that people can set up like they choose what they want, get it delivered 2 or 3 times a week, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so like make it as easy for them as possible.
Right. To piggyback off accessibility, what are your thoughts on certain parts of the city experiencing food deserts, and they don't have access to nutrition dense quality food, and why aren't like high quality restaurants and juiceries and things like that moving in?
Yeah. I mean, that's a beyond $1 million question, to be honest. Like it's that. I mean, for the most part, restaurants are small businesses. With the exceptions of chains, and you've got to go to places and neighborhoods that can help you sustain. So. Yeah, I mean, you've got to make your decisions. Like for us, like I think like knowing who your customer is,
right,
is vital for one.
To be a successful business. For
sure. You got to know who your customer is and go to them and appeal to them and put things on your menu that they're going to want. And those food deserts, to be honest, like I don't really know what the answer is to that.
It's tough. Just
but the reason is the money. Like those are under.
Yeah.
They're under.
So
those are rough neighborhoods that don't have the economies and
right. So
who
should be moving in first to set up an economy? Is that a bank? And I don't know if I'm just like now I'm just riffing like.
Yeah, I mean it's jobs.
To
me, it's jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, like people. I don't think like. I don't know. I mean I don't think like. Handouts have really worked very well. I think that people want to be able to get theirs. And have
purpose,
opportunities. Exactly. So, I mean, jobs would be the way to. I think that's how it starts. Okay. So I think like and there's a lot of things the city could probably do to make that easier. And there's a lot of taxes in this town, so maybe easing up on that to help attract or entice some industry to those neighborhoods. I mean, that's what I would think.
Okay. To piggyback off, to segue into the city, you mentioned some difficulties like setting up shop. Do you remember off the top of your head, like some of the largest hurdles that you had to overcome, working with the city?
Yeah.
Just for any future business.
Yeah, man. I'm not trying to shoot myself in the foot either. Yeah. Well, I mean, some of them were more probably on our end. Like the contractor I hired. I hired the lowest bid, and I kind of got what I paid for.
Okay.
And so, like some of the inspection hurdles, like that was, him. He would go MIA for weeks, or or the inspector, or something with the architect, or they'd be saying, well, I don't know.
Well, moving forward, I'm sure you learned your lesson.
Right. But one thing we do that is a huge obstacle for our industry in general, and it's not just in Chicago, but it's especially in Chicago, is we're required to get a bottle variance, bottling variance. So the way the juice industry is regulated by the FDA and all local health departments is, in order to serve or in order to bottle cold pressed juice that has not been pasteurized.
Okay.
It's got to be sold direct to consumer, so we cannot, by law, like wholesale to a gym or a grocer. So anything you see at the grocery store is truly a different product.
Okay. And now, because I myself don't know, and I'm sure a lot of the audience doesn't know, can you explain the difference between pasteurizing and non-pasteurizing?
Yeah.
Or not pasteurizing?
It's either vibrating on a high frequency, teeming with nutrients and live enzymes, or it's dead.
Okay.
That's pretty much. I mean, I'm like, I would suggest that if anyone's going to buy juice, either get it raw, ideally cold pressed, but at least raw from somewhere local, or don't get it, because everything at on the grocery store shelf is it's been pasteurized through either heat or pressure. That's a very deceptive
way to feel healthy.
Right. Well, the HPP is what they call it, high pressure pasteurization.
Okay.
That's really it's like created this loophole for companies to be able to call their juice raw.
Oh.
Because it's technically not using heat to achieve the pasteurization, it's using pressure instead.
Okay.
And numbers I hear like 87,000 pounds of pressure. So, but it doesn't matter. They're achieving the same end result, which is killing any potentially harmful bacteria and also killing off all the live enzymes, and really what the juice is about, like why you would drink that juice. So, in the end, there's I'm sure there's some vitamins and nutrients in it, but there's a lot of sugar.
Different from like probiotic drinks? Because I mean, there's still bacteria in probiotic drinks, aren't there?
At the grocery store?
Yeah.
Well,
How
there is
get away with that?
different regulations and processes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and that's like, and the kombucha industry is another one that from my reading and understanding is there, as these large huge companies have gotten into that industry,
right?
They're really like, I don't even know what's like, really screwing up that process and really like finding like shortcuts to use in order, adding things to it, and really the end result, like you're not really getting like a live probiotic drink,
no.
or it's achieved an artificial way.
Okay.
So yeah.
What, as far as like partnerships and collabs, like how were you able to, did you actually walk up to Dave Asprey and collab? Like how did that work out?
No, I saw him on a stage, and we were at that longevity conference,
right.
And those conferences are grueling. They're like, typically like 12-hour days, and they're just back to back speakers. And so you choose, you'll see who's coming up and what, a little snippet about what their topic is, and choose. When you're not interested, I would go to the local juice spot, of course,
nice.
and I'd get a juice and kind of grab lunch or whatever and kind of get a breather, walk around.
Sure.
So Dave Asprey came up, and he had his, I think, red lensed glasses on.
Always.
And his Vibram 5-finger shoes. And he was up there, and he started speaking, and I was already beelining it for the door. I'm like, okay, I don't need to listen to this guy. So I was on my way out, and he started speaking on the coffee industry and how a lot of the negative effects that people might feel from coffee, whether it's jitters, anxiety, hot flashes, the kind of like that adrenaline fatigue,
mm-hmm.
That a lot of that, or it could be there's something like their throat feeling closey, so
wow.
But a lot of the negative symptoms or effects from coffee are more likely to be attributed to the toxins in the coffee, and that how the United States does not regulate mold and toxicity in coffee like many other countries do. So what we end up with is inherently what's been rejected by other parts of the world.
What?
Of course. So anyway, I was not a coffee drinker,
okay.
but at that time, I knew that I wanted to incorporate some sort of coffee into this concept.
Cool.
And I wasn't really interested in the cold brew thing. That was new, and that was new then, and that was also what all these like raw vegan juiceries were doing, was this cold brew process. And I just thought, we're in Chicago, who wants cold coffee half the year in Chicago? Like,
sure.
So So I was kind of looking for something else, but passively, and I didn't really think I was going to find it there.
Right,
but
right.
when he started speaking on this, it really caught my interest. So I sat back down and, heard about the science that the science all made sense. Like blending healthy fats into coffee slows your body's absorption of the caffeine. So instead of that peak and crash, it's a steady, sustained focus.
Okay.
Yeah, the MCT oil is like instant brain fuel, so it's like turning your brain on all the way. There's no carbs, there's no protein, so depending on what type of fasting you're talking about, it could maintain. You can, it's kind of like a cheat for fasting. You're certainly ingesting fats if you're blending butter and MCT oil into it, but no sugar, no protein. And so I went out to their wholesale desk, and it seemed like fate. The woman working there was like from a neighboring hometown that I grew up in.
Cool.
And she was super sweet. And I was explaining to her like what I was working on and that I was interested in this. So she set me up with a bottle of brain octane and a bag of beans. And I went home and got the grass-fed Kerrygold butter and bought a coffee brewer because I didn't even own one because I wasn't a coffee drinker. And I started brewing it at home to test, for my friends to test that were all coffee drinkers. And it was like wildfire. Like I was passing this stuff out to my buddies, and they would be calling me like, "Hey, are you coming through that bulletproof coffee?" Like, what? I'm like, "No, I'm not a delivery man here." What? I'm like, "Did you like it?" Like, "Yeah, man, it stuff's awesome." So, and at that same point in time, I was working on the business, and I had this to-do list like 100 items long, and I'm sure I am ADD, undiagnosed, I've never medicated for it, but I'm sure that's a thing. And I was bouncing around and like doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I wasn't getting anything done. So I thought like, man, maybe I should try this stuff. So I started drinking it myself, and that was it, man. I was hooked, and all of a sudden I was checking things off that list. So,
wow,
it really changed my life. I was able to focus and be more productive.
Wow. Is that still like today, like till today? Like you?
Actually, no. Now my wife and I both quit drinking coffee like 3 years ago. Her, because she's got autoimmune kind of reactions from it, but she was a hardcore coffee drinker for many years. And myself, I would just find that like if I would have coffee more than a couple times a week, I would get like, I started getting like pains in my stomach.
Huh?
Yeah, pains in my stomach. And it was fine for a couple years.
Okay.
But it was on our honeymoon actually, because we're in Hawaii, and the time difference, and you want to get up and make the most of every day. So we were getting up, and I was making coffee every morning, and about halfway through that trip, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I've got a knife in my stomach. So talking to one of my friends who's a very very well respected and renowned biohacker, Anthony DiClemente, I was working with him, and I was explaining, he's like, you got to cut the coffee. He's like, so many people are allergic to coffee but don't realize it. It's like really unrecognized. And probably the biggest reason is because no one wants to give up their coffee.
It's hard,
like you'd rather try everything else first,
know.
right? So, and I treat sometimes I splurge. I'll have a coffee, but not more than once every week or two.
Okay.
Otherwise, like I kind of pay for it. But
do you carry any MCT oil around?
With
like
at home
around, like when you go out to eat, and like some people just like.
I used to.
Oh, you used to.
I used to, yeah. But like MCT oil, it's a great supplement, but there's a science to it, and you need too much of it can be a bad thing. Coconut oil is inherently antibacterial, right? Well, it doesn't decipher between good and bad bacteria.
Okay.
So you can overdo it and kill all the good bacteria in your gut.
Interesting.
So my wife and I, we used to pour it all over our sushi, make a salad dressing with it. I put it in everything you could think of, but yeah, it's like.
So there is such a thing as too much of, anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
To riff off wellness, what other, for someone who's a business owner and someone who's on the go, what other routines have you set for yourself to set you up for for success that you'd be willing to share?
Some easy ones I would say this is one that's universal, that everybody on the planet should follow, and that's to fast for a minimum of 12 hours every night. That will change your life. And I started doing that last year, and it really has probably had it's been one of the most profound
Interesting.
effects on my life of all the different, crazy little
That should be
things
the
that I try.
easiest too.
It is. Well, you think automatically like,
sleeping.
oh
If
yeah,
you're sleeping
I already
for-
do that. But when you really like, when you set your mind to it, and you're like, okay, the last thing I eat at night, it's 12 hours before I can have anything again in the morning, right?
Okay.
You're gonna think twice about that chocolate bar or those chips or even that mango or whatever that pint of Halo Top, whatever,
Oh, yeah.
whatever it is at 9 or 10 o'clock. Like you're gonna second guess it. You're gonna really like question that. Like, do I really want to do that? Because I finished dinner 2 hours ago. So then I'm like starting over my clock here. So that's been very helpful for me. You just feel better when you wake up in the morning. You wake up with more energy.
Sure.
So that's one. Jumping in Lake Michigan is
I saw a couple pictures of that. That's insane.
an amazing thing that we have free access to in this city.
Wow.
Yeah, and it when it's really cold, jump. Don't walk in off the beach. That's slow, but that's like slow and painful. But it really does. That cold plunging is, one of my favorite things to do.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's free.
Do you do cold showers as well?
Cold showers every day.
Oh,
every day
for the whole time.
Yeah. Well,
So-
it
or just
depends.
finish
At least,
off with-
yeah. Like this, like now, the water
Right,
got
it's
really
hard.
cold. Yeah, I was in Florida last week, and we came back. I was telling my wife yesterday, I'm like, hey, the showers, they're the real deal now.
Yeah,
When we were
yeah.
like before we left, they were not. Now they are.
Interesting.
So yeah, like some days, like we have an infrared sauna in our house. So
Okay.
when I sauna, it's kind of like 50-50. Sometimes I get in there and I'm ready to go for it, and I'll just like put it on cold, and I'll just like, you shower a lot quicker when it's cold. You get it done. So, but regardless, like I always finish the shower with cold water.
Yeah.
Try to do at least
Same,
a
yeah,
minute.
at least.
When you cold plunge, you want to go for, depending on the temperature, when it's like really really cold, a minute is good.
Okay.
And if it's like 50, 60 degrees, then like you want to aim for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and kind of go from there. But
Okay.
it's like, something about being in Lake Michigan and that, that like electrically charged, that like negative electrons, whatever you want to call it, like moving and you being in that body of water, something about that. Like when you cold plunge in Lake Michigan, when it's like the real deal cold temps, and it is now, that like, it's hard to really explain how that like what you feel like that night. Like you go home and like it crushes inflammation, and I don't think I'm like very inflamed to begin with, but you just feel like this sense of calm and peace in your body, and like I don't even know, there's just something about you sleep like
Have others said that too?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
My wife with like anyone with like autoimmune or
Right.
inflammation issues, it's like, yeah, it's like she describes things that kind of give her relief as it's like opens up her chest and she could breathe deeper, or breathe easier, but you sleep really well too.
Yeah.
And it's really like when you get in the cold water, right away your heart rate's going to be, heart rate's going to spike, and you're going to be breathing really fast, like, kind of freaking out. And that's really like your one main objective is to control your breath and try to slow your heart rate. And what you're doing, and another thing what you're doing is teaching your body how to manage stress, how to handle stressful situations.
Yeah. Wim Hof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wim Hof.
It's the man.
As far as more collabs, to provide a more holistic outlook for customers, have you collabed with other services besides like things like yoga or meditation centers?
Yeah, we partner with other, like
A pop-up, like that. I guess that's what I'm thinking of. It doesn't have to be a formal like partnership.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
all sorts of different ways too. It's kind of like case by case basis how we kind of review it and see what makes sense. We've been trying to come up with more on our end, in the past that I've kind of like just
get your face out there, get High Five out there,
Yeah.
in front of different, the same demographic, but people who haven't been in High Five.
Yeah. It's probably another thing that we need to do a better job of.
Oh, I thought
to
you
be
had,
honest.
because I
Yeah.
saw you guys were, you have a YouTube channel as well, so they saw that you guys like did a video on a meditation center. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty
that
cool.
was chill right down the street.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do. I mean, we definitely try to. I mean, Chicago, for being the third largest city in the country, the wellness community is way smaller and more tight knit than you would think.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we definitely try to embrace and like we have our cleanses are a huge part of what we do. Right. We take a lot of pride in our cleanse program, and while we can't offer discounts, what we've been trying to do instead is we've been trying to add value. So every month we feature a partner that our cleanse clients get a free session or a class or a consultation from a local business that's in the wellness space,
right, that
kind of adds value to their cleanse experience, and also helps that business to get these wellness driven wellness driven client through the door and exposed to their concept or product.
So speaking with the cleanse, for the average person, how often should they be cleansing?
I would say monthly is probably optimal.
Okay.
Yeah, quarterly is kind of like, I think that makes the most sense for like a minimum.
Okay.
But it's up to you. Like for me, that's living off this stuff, off of green juice and bone broth and matcha vate, Lionheart matcha vates every day. I probably don't need to cleanse quite as often, but I do it when I really want to feel on fire and feel my best. So it's also a huge time saver. So if I've got a huge week coming up and I need to be really productive, it truly is like adding hours to your day.
Yeah.
Because you're removing
meal prepping,
shopping, prepping, right. Even physically sitting down to eat.
Oh yeah.
You could drink a bottle of juice while you're driving, while you're in a meeting, while you're on a call. So it really does add time to your day. So whenever you want to look, feel, and perform at your best, that's when you should cleanse. So
I think most people don't know what their best is.
That's very true. That's very true. And there's something to be said too with the cleanses is it's hard for me to explain why, but everyone's like tempted to cheat on their cleanse, right?
Right.
And it's more of a mental and emotional challenge than it is physical. Like, fasting has been a part of every civilization for thousands and thousands of years, and they're doing straight water or even dry fasting for several days. This is flooding your body with these super nutrients for 3, 4, 5 days on average. So you're getting plenty of calories, plenty of nutrients. But eating a handful of nuts or an avocado for some reason throws the cleanse off. It really does.
Really?
Like, you don't get those superhero senses turned on like you do if you stuck to it like a boss. It's not like a mental thing. There really is. Like, I've done cleanses where, like, I didn't even tell my wife that, like, I had a corner of chocolate bar that was in my glove box or whatever, and you don't get those, I guess, like that like breakthrough where you feel like your senses are like super sharp and you're I don't know, so sticking to it, it really is essential to gaining that full experience, the full benefits, and also, like, you're building that muscle memory of denying your body and your brain those impulse cravings too.
Right.
You give into that. Right. It's like, you're like, in the back of your head, you're a little bit disappointed in yourself, and you should be. Like, you should be able to go 3, 4 to 5 days without your chocolate or almonds or whatever.
Do you guys offer coaching services?
You know what? We don't really at this time. We have in the past. It's more informal because, my wife, myself, we've got a newer guy on our team, Presley, that's a certified health coach and a very much a biohacker extraordinary. I mean, he's in like epigenetics and things like that. Yeah. So we've got the team to do it, but formally we don't. My wife's currently going through an AIP certification course, so that she'll be able to help those people. But I mean, I like helping everybody. So if anyone needs some
Right.
coaching, I'm probably the best deal in town because,
Right.
yeah, I'm open to talk and chat.
So, like before we were recording, you mentioned that you kind of were a little far from your passion or like what you wanted to do. Is that like what part of that did you mean? Like it got too businessy for you and you like you missed something.
Well, I don't
It was I
recall.
think it was in the text messages, back in the DMs. But
Oh, well, I can tell you this, that like, the past probably 3 years, I've been really, really kind of, I don't know if overwhelmed's the word, but like the operational side of things is really like taken over.
okay,
And what I found is that, I'm not the person that should be managing the operation.
okay,
And it's not like an ego thing. It's like a makeup thing. Like, I hate using this term, but a creative, like visionary mind. So I like to create and I like thinking big picture and like A to Z, and I want things done like boom right away. And like,
Right.
but that whole B to Y is where I am not the
Yeah.
best guy for the job. So
I think a lot of people would say that it's hard to let go of their baby, and they would actually micromanage, and it'd be hard to let go to give it to someone else to operate.
right, but it's beyond that too, because you got to find the person to. Because I mean, I micromanage out of necessity. I think like I need things done right. Like I'm certainly obsessive and a perfectionist, and there's no such thing as perfect, but there is such thing as like right and being on top of things. So, like that.
Yeah.
That operational, like systematic approach to the day to day and the business side of
Right.
things. That's probably my my biggest deficiency. So that's what I've been working on, is filling my voids.
Okay.
Kind of get me back into the seat that I'm best at and best serving the business
Sure.
and at my happiest and
Yeah,
feeling most
yeah,
fulfilled.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like that's why I got into the business.
Okay. So moving towards like your future endeavors, is there anything else besides opening up another brick and mortar high vibe that you're thinking of?
Yeah, there's other concepts. I'm always thinking I have to kind of like check myself and try to keep blinders on and not
Yeah,
let myself
yeah.
get too distracted by shiny ideas.
Right.
But yeah, I would like to do another concept in the next year or two.
Oh wow, that's early.
Probably something. Well, we'll see. We'll see how fast we get this one fixed and expanded and the right people driving it. But probably something more. Probably like a carnivorous type of concept,
oh, cool.
maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to join the High Vibe family, what are you looking for?
As far as
a team
join our
member?
team,
Yeah.
Go to our website, hi-vibe.com. That's hi-vibe.com. I believe Tribe is the drop down, and then we've got a link for team, and we've got like an online questionnaire. It's kind of like an application of sorts. You can upload a resume there. I mean, we're always looking. We're always hiring.
But I guess what specifically face to face when you were to meet them or interview them, like what qualities are you looking for?
Oh, I mean, passionate about
Okay.
about the product, the ingredients, and the intention behind everything.
Okay.
Because that's the hardest thing to find, and you can't train that. Like that passion behind it, and that's really the number one qualifier, I would say.
Cool. Is there anything else you wanted to share for the audience?
How'd you like your matcha?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, I had a matcha phase, and this probably topped all of that.
Yeah. Awesome.
To be honest, I don't understand a lot of the ingredients, so I got to do my homework on a lot of that. And I feel like that's maybe a lot of your customers, perhaps. And I don't think it's intimidating. I think I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I think I should start caring. I think more people should start caring. But
Yeah.
it's interesting, like how we can help people come to the realization that they should care.
Yeah. You know what? And your podcast kind of caught my eye to begin with because it's consciously curious, right?
Yeah.
And one of my I guess colleagues, I would call him, this guy that's got a juice operation in Raleigh, North Carolina. This guy named Sharif. when I visited his operation because I saw that he was doing, well, for one, he was doing pokey, and that was something that we've considered in the past, like adding pokey to our operation here, kind of with our own like high vibe spin on it. And he does like a tremendous job cultivating community.
Yes.
And so my wife and I took her there like probably like 7 or 8 months pregnant to Raleigh, North Carolina. Totally random because I wanted to check out this spot and like meet this guy. And one of the terms that he kept saying is really like, I love it, and I would love to embrace it, is conscious consumption. Mm-hmm. And it applies to so many different things. You know, it's not just what you're eating, it's what you're reading, it's what you're watching, who you're surrounding yourself with. So conscious consumption is a powerful approach to take.
Yeah, have an intent.
Yeah. Yeah, and like everything you consume is making up that body of yours. So
you're right.
You know,
you are what you eat.
You're gonna get out what you're putting in. Yeah. Well, so we've got. Well, I should mention too. We've got hopefully 2 new locations coming.
Yeah.
One for sure is going to be West Lakeview. It's going to be on Ashland, near Belmont.
Wow.
Just south of Belmont.
That's a hot corner.
Yeah, it's a good spot. I'm really excited about it. Partially because I live like 3 blocks from it, so
no way.
It's gonna make things a lot more convenient for me too.
Cool.
So that's a good spot, and that'll service. I mean, we're looking for that to service like Lincoln Park, Lakeview, Roscoe Village, Lincoln Square, Bucktown, Logan Square. Like they're all. It's kind of in the center of all those neighborhoods. Yeah, North Side neighborhoods, and then we have a deal that's not yet done, but we're hoping to get executed here probably in the next month, and that's right off of Mag Mile. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that one would be late spring, and the one on Ashland would be early spring, late winter actually.
Oh wow, that's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up right, man. I got to get those contractors going. So.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Time.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you and chat, and hopefully we make more of a habit of it.
With intent. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Victor.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to stay curious. Aloha. I'll see you guys in the next episode.